Rachel's muscles coiled tight, every nerve ending on high alert. But she refused to flinch, refused to let him see the storm raging beneath her skin. "I don't belong to anyone," she said, voice steady, cold. Lazarus's gaze darkened, something unreadable flickering behind those ice-blue eyes, a predator assessing its prey. "You belong to me now." A slow, incredulous scoff escaped her lips. "You think you can just claim me? Drag me off like some barbarian?" He exhaled a low chuckle, the sound sliding over her like dark velvet. "I wouldn't call it dragging," he mused, "but I am taking you with me." Her nails bit into her palms, grounding her against the quiet fury building inside her. "You can't force me to do anything." Lazarus tilted his head, amusement curling at the edges of his lips, like a little mouse bargaining with a hungry cat. His voice was almost playful, but the weight beneath it sent a shiver down her spine. "Are you hoping your wolf will suddenly rise up and be ferocious enough to resist me?" Rachel stiffened, her breath catching in her throat. He knew. She had spent years silencing the shame, burying the truth where no one could touch it. But Lazarus had just laid it bare. She had never shifted. Every pack had wolves who never awakened. It was rare, a whisper in the bloodlines, a cruel twist of fate. Most wolves found their other half by 16. Rachel had reached 23 without so much as a whisper of hers. She braced for the mockery, the pity, the dismissal. But it didn't come. Lazarus took a slow, deliberate step forward. "She's in there," he murmured, his voice low and certain. "We can all sense her." His gaze swept over her, searching, knowing. "But I doubt she'd be a match for me. Not yet." Rachel's teeth clenched. "Not yet?" "I don't need a wolf to be strong," she said, her voice like steel. A flicker of something crossed his face, something not quite mockery, something deeper. "No," he agreed, his tone softer than she expected. "I imagine you don't." The words unsettled her more than any insult could have. Then, just like that, his expression shifted, and he stepped even closer. Close enough that she could feel the heat rolling off him in waves, close enough that his breath skimmed her cheek, warm and deliberate. "You will do," he murmured, his voice edged with certainty. "Bland is truly out of the question." Rachel's pulse kicked, heat creeping up her skin. There was something in his expression, a flicker of recognition, as if he knew her in a way she didn't yet understand, a memory she hadn't lived. She shoved the thought away. "I will not mate with you," she bit out. His smirk was maddening. "Your scent betrays you, little mouse." His voice was a dark caress. "And like me, I'm sure you already feel the trappings of the bond." Her breath caught. "No," she snapped, recoiling as if the word could sever something invisible between them. But Lazarus didn't flinch, didn't waver. "It's done," he said simply. Her stomach plunged. "You can't just decide." "I have decided," he interrupted smoothly, his voice an unmovable force. Rachel's fingers curled into fists, rage simmering beneath her skin. "I don't care who you are, I am not your Luna." Lazarus leaned in, close enough that the scent of him, smoke, cedar, something dark and untamed, wrapped around her. "Not yet," he whispered, "but do resist, little mouse." His breath ghosted over her ear, sending unwanted shivers racing down her spine. "I love taming wild things." Rachel willed herself to stand still, willed herself not to react. Instead, she lifted her chin, eyes burning into his. "Oh? Looks like you need a leash." Something flickered in his gaze. Amusement, frustration, hunger, and then, just as quickly, it was gone. His smirk deepened. The thoughts you put in my head. What gem should I stud your collar with? And the leash. Smooth, studded, long, short." He clicked his tongue. My, your wild fantasies are going to have us all worked up." Her blood boiled. "You? Save your fury," he cut in, voice like steel. "You'll need it." His eyes darkened, no trace of teasing left. "Say your goodbyes, we leave tomorrow." Rachel's breath hitched. No, like hell she would. She turned sharply, striding away with measured steps, refusing to let him see her panic. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but she wouldn't let it show, wouldn't let him win. The garden walls suddenly felt too tight, the air too thick. She needed space, distance, anything to think. But she wasn't naive. She could feel his gaze burning into her back, unwavering. "You're running before the game has even begun," he called after her. Rachel froze mid-step. A slow, curling rage slithered through her chest. She turned, deliberate, eyes locking onto his. "Game? You think this is a game?" Lazarus's smirk returned, slow and deliberate. "Everything is a game, little mouse." His voice was a dark promise. The question is whether you're playing to win. He took a step forward, gaze piercing, or just trying not to lose. Rachel hated the way his voice slid over her skin like silk, hated the way something inside her shivered in response. "I'm not playing at all," she bit out. Lazarus moved closer, and closer. Before she could jerk away, he reached out, catching a strand of her hair between his fingers. He twirled it slowly, rubbing it between his thumb and forefinger, testing its softness. Rachel held her breath. Heat radiated from him, his presence swallowing the space between them like a living thing. "Maybe that's been your problem all along," he murmured, voice impossibly low. "You've spent your whole life standing on the sidelines, afraid to step onto the field." Rachel's pulse pounded, but she refused to break eye contact. Instead, she lifted her chin, closing the gap between them by a fraction. "And maybe your problem," she whispered, "is that you think you're the only one playing." Her voice was steady, sharp as a blade. "Careful, Lazarus." Her lips barely parted as she delivered the final blow. "You might not like what happens when I decide to make my move." A slow, dark smile curved his lips. His fingers tightened slightly on the strand of hair before letting it slide through his fingers. "I look forward to it," he murmured. Rachel held his gaze for a beat longer before stepping back. And then she turned. She strode away, her heart pounding, ignoring the way his words curled around her spine like a challenge she wasn't sure she wanted to resist. Because if she didn't resist, she wasn't sure she'd be able to stop herself from falling, and that terrified her.